Hi everyone, Scrappy Kathy here with a Freeze Friday layout share. It's on Monday, and all of these layouts were created over the weekend. So starting Saturday, and I knew I had these. I had nothing to report from the first part of the week, and these have not been labeled. But I wanted to get the layout share done because today is the first day of Calvin Ball, and I want to separate the Calvin Ball layouts from the ones I did before Calvin Ball. And I will be doing some more. All of these layouts are from the for the Secret Not Secret party. It's a Kit Club party that happens every month, and I played along, particularly on Saturday. I'm going to go back and catch up on the Friday challenges and on the Sunday challenges, but I wanted to go through these so I can kind of set them aside. There's an area where my layouts collect before the next share video. I do not have, I think one of these, maybe, I don't know where it is. There's one in here that there is a video of it. I did it for Scrap Squad Sunday. It was the Friday Scrap Squad lift number 9, I believe it is. And so that's the only one that there's a video. The rest of these do not have videos, so I'll spend a little bit of time talking about them. This one, and as usual, there's a, things kind of tend to want to come off occasionally. So I'm going to, as I'm telling you about the layout, I'm going to kind of repair some of these things with some glue. This is a sticker of a wire, birds on a wire, and there's a little bird here. I have no idea where it went, where it was supposed to go, so I'm gonna put it there. This is a very Calvin Ball-esque layout. It's a it was done to a load prompt to use an imperfect picture. So this was, the imperfect picture is really poorly lit and it's kind of blurry. So I normally, those are the ones that you'll see me filtering. And so I filtered it with 4 different filters and used all 4 of those filters with the main photo, and just kind of talking about the event. I used several different sticker sheets, and I didn't care whether the icons had anything to do with what was going on in the photos. It's when we gave Ava, who was at the time, how old was Ava? She was 7. It was giving her a couple stuffed toys, so it didn't bother me to put toys or animals or cameras or cupcakes or anything on there. And I just kind of emptied some sticker sheets. So had a lot of fun with this one and used colors that may or may not be in the photo. This kind of lavender color that I repeat several times, I pulled from my impression of this. The underside of these coral pillows is sort of a lavender color, a dusky lavender color. So I kind of picked that up from there, and that the rest of the photo gave me license to use every other color with it. So let me pull the chair over and I'll start stacking these down. Oops, I've got another bird that didn't stick. Small stickers from old sticker sheets very often do not stay stuck. So probably a good idea to use liquid glue on them at the start. Okay, This one is one also done for load, not to a specific prompt, but the load theme for February this year was Fresh, Simple, and Shiplap, which was based on Chip and Joanna Gaines' uh, show on Home and Garden, HGTV. And they are, they purchased these grain silos in their hometown of Waco, and then established a few enterprises there, a home decor shop, and most importantly, a cupcake bakery. So we stood in line there and picked up this. I love the sign. Welcome to the Magnolia Silos, home goods, baked goods, all good. So I printed the silos, I filtered it so that it would look watercolory and an appropriate background, printed it in 8.5 by 11 size, and then printed this smaller photo of John sitting there with our little box of cupcakes. These are the two cupcakes. He got the chocolatier, I got the lemon lavender, and then I just kind of decorated it with mostly Simple Stories stickers, I think. So I like that one a lot. And it says, on what turned out to be our last baseball road trip, we stopped off in Waco to see the silos up close and to sample those cupcakes that Joanna always served up in her kitchen. They were as yummy as they'd always looked. So that was, I think we closed the place down, actually, arriving a little bit late there. Okay, this was a party challenge. Again, chipboard that needs to be glued down. Let's see if I can get that there. Okay. This is, and I apologize, I don't have it written down. I will do that. I think this one was to do rainbow colors on a black background. So I had this rainbow piece of paper here. I die cut this little kind of fence looking thing out of it. I found this rainbow sunglasses paper lying around and kind of cut that down. It's about my son James walking in Ava to first grade, carrying her plastic bags of school supplies and wearing her Rainbow Dash backpack. Okay, everything in all of these layouts is kind of old supplies. I just kind of challenged myself to go through some of my older stores of supplies. I didn't go to the IKEA holders that are holding the what's left of kits that I've gotten or full collections that I've gotten. So all of this stuff kind of came from my standard generic pattern paper area, and I tried to use a lot of pattern paper backgrounds. So speaking of pattern paper, this was an image inspiration that I believe the image was kind of a princess, and I think she looks like a little fairy princess blowing fairy bubbles there. And I picked this background because it was her favorite sheet of pattern paper back when she used to be my crafting buddy. And I figured these things kind of look like bubbles, right? So that's kind of where that page came from. I can tell by looking at this that this is an October afternoon sheet of paper. I was going to say graphic 45, but it's October afternoon. This was to talk about a children's book that and to do a character comparison. See, I'm remembering the challenges after all. And this one was about a book called The Sailor Dog, and this is an illustration from inside. And this is another illustration that I printed larger than the others. I put it on a text background paper, tore this sheet of paper from a My Mind's Eye collection called Find Your Wings and Fly. And it's kind of about how I had hoped as I read this, that my son would become as creative and adventurous as this dog. And he's sought and found adventure in many different ways, not as a sailor, and gosh, not as a dog, but he's still top dog. That was my favorite book to read to him. Okay, this one was there was an image that had some layers and flaps and flops and so forth, and I decided to scrap this, which is a card that I made for John and took to him at the hospital, which is why I labeled everything that I took to him there. This was back when he wasn't able to be with us at Christmas. On the day after Christmas, I took this to him, and it's, photos of everybody on Christmas Day. And there's me on the steps in my Christmas sweater with Reese wearing her Christmas sweater. So that's my flip out book. I had already made the book, and I wanted to, that's my favorite picture of the two of us, so I put that on the front. That wasn't from Christmas this year. Okay, this one was I think this one was actually following a design that Christina used in a live. And on hers, she took a very busy background paper and did gesso and a little white paint to kind of make an area that kind of allowed the photos to be highlighted. So I happen to have this circle I had cut out of one of Vicki Bouton's pre-made mixed media pages. I did a little bit of stenciling, very poorly. I had mixed some paint and glitter paste because there was a requirement to use glitter paste, and I thought it might make an interesting texture. And what it did was the glitter paste looks great. The paint kind of sneaked under the stencil. It was a little too wet. But I went with it because nothing is really supposed to be precise on here. And I've got these two photos of John playing with Katie in our pool back in Jackson. So that's that one. This one is one that was kind of hard to do. It shows the flagstone patio and steps that we had going up to the front yard. And I had to build a ramp, assuming that John would be traveling across it in a wheelchair, or if he happened to be need to be transported to a doctor or something before he was able to get in a wheelchair, they'd be able to roll the gurney, I guess they call it, across this a lot easier. And he had a couple doctor's appointments that it turned out he was too weak to actually go. And he never saw this. He never went outside to see this, until he left permanently on February 8th. So I love this page, but it makes me cry. We were to write a story that in a Once Upon a Time style. So my journaling reads, once upon a time there was a couple called Ma and Crappa. They lived in the basement and planted a garden in pots lined up along the border of a flagstone patio and up railroad tie steps to the front yard. In 2020, the kind and gentle man called Crappa got really ill, and EMS folks had lots of trouble getting him to the ambulances. So the horrified and worried woman called Ma hired someone to tear out the flagstone and build a ramp so Crappa could have a smoother ride. Sadly, the wonderful and much-loved man never got to see this ramp. He rode away on it the night of February 8th, 2021. So I'll put that one aside. This one is a happier page about Crapaw. Using one of my favorite, I've scrapped this photo before in its original unfiltered version, but we had a giant inflatable alligator that the kids would ride down the slide with, and the photo was taken with the alligator in front and Crapaw's head there, and then all the greenery across the pool. And so I used this sheet of paper. I think it's Authentique, and a bunch of stickers from fun things, but it already had these flowers and butterflies, which kind of, this is very much the way that the pool was landscaped. Every color, every type of flower, every type of greenery that looked tropical. And so this was a fun page to do. It's kind of, the colors, these bright kind of primary colors don't necessarily go with these, but who cares? So this one, this was one where we were supposed to do something stenciled or masked or something on top of a book page. So I picked a page from my old calculus text, page number 838, by the way, and it was a page on infinite series. And infinite series is kind of what I consider that John and I are on. We're part of an infinite series. And this talks about, of all the things that John and I did together, traveling was kind of our hallmark thing. So I called it, this is a stencil of like the top of a globe looking down at it. And so I did it in rainbow Distress Oxide inks. Used some clear stickers on this pink floral background that has nothing to do with anything other than it kind of matches the lanyard I'm wearing. There's a picture of us at Margaritaville Beach Hotel in Pensacola, and it was kind of our home away from home and kind of the basis, the starting point, and maybe sometimes the ending point for our road trips. But this kind of talks about how we traveled pretty much around the world, and we were very lucky. I said we pursued IT careers, raised a son, renovated homes, started consulting and landscaping businesses, designed pools, and swam with the grandkids. But atop our list was always go, see, do. We traveled around the world and took in every beach, sunset, museum, and concert. And I was so fortunate to have those almost 40 years. So here's Crapaw in our pool in Jackson playing with Allie when she was probably, 2009, I was probably 7 years old. And here he is with her when she was on her way to a toga party and stopped by to show us her dress. And this was, I used I used a design that Laura Alberts had done in a video for one of the challenges. And I used a floral paper, a text paper, and a striped paper, and some stickers. I forget what the requirements were. And circles, I think, were also required. Anyway, that was a fun one to do. All old stuff. This one was based, Crystal Barrett did this challenge, and it was based on the Candyland game, and there were squares, so that was a requirement, and we had to have something sweet, so those are, I'm sure those are very sweet strawberries in this pattern paper, and I forget what the other requirement was, 2 photos, I think, or maybe 1 or 2 photos, so I used 2. These photos kind of capture what our life was after we retired. It was hanging out with grandkids until they were too old and too cool to hang out with us. But these were, this is our life. And John not only went along with this, he enthusiastically embraced it. And he was not a wild and crazy, let's have fun with the grandkids kind of guy necessarily. But he loved them, and they knew it, and they loved him back. And so I consider him pretty much a limited edition. He's something special. What I wrote here is, after we retired, John assumed his role as Crapaw to Katie, Barrett, Ava, and Allie. It was what his life was all about. So this one is the Scrap Squad lift, and this was the original. A white background, a subtle pattern paper, some contrasting corners, and then a cluster, a photo cluster here with a few little small clusters. Well, I didn't use a subtle pattern paper, and I used a black background, but this is my interpretation of it. And it's about when the Starbucks crew at our local walkable Starbucks remembered his birthday with a chocolate croissant, which was his guilty pleasure. And this one was a fun one to make. And this one has a video. It's under Scrap Squad Sunday videos on my channel. This is the exact same design. I borrowed the same design. I didn't do the overlay paper because this had the scribble, but I kind of did the cluster, and there they've got word strips, and I did word strips. This was for a Friday night challenge that I went back and did, that Adam Westwood, my hero, my more is more compadre, he and Katie Scott of the Scrappy Sisters Oz did a challenge called a Prince Charming challenge. So to scrap about a man in your life who makes you think of Prince Charming. So I did just a whole slew of names I could call John, references to John. My Prince Charming, my best friend, my sweetheart, my travel buddy, my laundry guy, my artistic consultant, my dishwasher, my table setter, my world, my hero, my better half, my soulmate. And those of you who've watched my videos for a while know that he was also my stencil washer and my the cleaner of all things that I wasn't able to clean while making a video, but which needed to be cleaned or else I'd never be able to use them again. So I was always able to ask him to do that. I don't think any of you ever saw him. I think some of my videos might have actually shown the back of his head as he was sitting reading on the couch. But anyway, and I picked this photo. Again, I was practicing with the portrait mode that blacks out the background, and I just love this. And he's wearing the ugly sweater that James gave us for Christmas a couple years ago. And it's one of the more recent photos of him where he looks a lot like himself, you know, so I love it. And I used this aqua branding strip because that color didn't go with anything else I had going on. And this is the paper that it came from. I have no idea who made it, but it's probably on the back of this branding strip. Anyway, this next one is a fairly minimalist one. I used the back of that village paper that I had used. I had only had this small strip of it. Used some flower stickers from a sticker book that I have. I love this sticker book. It's maybe one of my more recent purchases. I had a coupon, not a coupon, but a gift card to Hobby Lobby. And I used it mostly for some photo albums, but I saw this book there, and it has just a lot of really beautiful flowers. And I especially like when you use the clear ones, how the background kind of comes through. And I actually like that. You kind of have to know when to use it and when not. In this case, these are paper stickers, so the background doesn't show through. This is just a little series of photos of Allie. The challenge was fantasy meets reality. You know, what about a kid who's dressed as a princess but is playing in the park? Well, this is playing on the back deck, blowing bubbles while we're barbecuing. And it was for, she wanted to dress up like that for her little brother Barrett's, I think, second birthday, 2006. So I put it on a craft background because I thought those colors would pop. And I had this little strip of paper. Since it was a birthday, it's got numbers. I have no idea why I use most things that I use, but again, this paper has absolutely nothing to do with this photo, but it was about a story that you used to tell your kids, or that you've told, you know, kind of a tall tale, a fairy tale. And this is about the fact that we had a raccoon that was drinking out of our pool on a regular basis. In fact, well over 50 such raccoons, but I managed to catch a photo of this one. And talk about how we had to break it to him that we hadn't built that pool as a giant watering hole for him and his family. So we painstakingly trapped them all and relocated them to an area about 20 miles away from where we lived, where there was a water source and the cover of woods and shrubbery and bush. So they had happy homes. The problem was that sometimes as we trapped them individually, we separated families, and the remaining family members were A, difficult to trap, and B, extremely angry when we did. So this was kind of an ongoing thing that we had. I remember my sister visited one time, and we had the trap out on the back deck, and when we trapped this one raccoon, in retrospect, we realized it was a mother who was out foraging for food for her babies, and the babies were still up in the attic. They'd climbed the pole from our deck, and the builder who attached the deck to the house had left a hole that was big enough for them to get through. And we so she was out when we trapped her. She was so angry. She was actually just this fairly small raccoon in a fairly large cage. She was actually moving the cage. She moved it at least 7 or 8 feet away from where it had been sitting, just, you know, kind of trying to get out of it. So we turned her loose, and then years later, when we sold the house, the inspector found her babies, you know, who didn't survive, you know, up in the attic. Sad story, but we had, and for me, I look at this cute little guy. I can't help but think of cute furry things as, you know, quote unquote pets, and so it was hard, but it's kind of a fun page. So we told the story to the raccoon that, you know, that we put this beautiful watering hole for you, and then we had to break the truth to you. Okay, this one is one, oh no, I've picked up something here. well, that looks like it needs an embellishment. I have some more of these stars. I'm going to put another one down here. The challenge was to tell a story of something that you experienced that wouldn't have been as good an experience without having done it with your best friend. And I document the fact that I got my love of sports and a lot of my knowledge about sports from John, because he wasn't one of those guys who just wanted to go off and have sports with him, for himself or, with a bunch of guys. He shared it with his family. So he shared it with me and James, and he got James kind of hooked on baseball. We had Astros season tickets. This is at a Rockets game, and it was, we took Katie to that on her first New Year's Eve. And there was the Rockets had a player called Yao Ming, and one of the things that the crowd did during the game was sing Yao Ming, Yao Ming, Yao Ming, Yao Ming. And Katie, bless her heart, what was she? She was 8 months old. She started singing along, and then throughout the weekend, we went to San Antonio and stayed on the Riverwalk, and throughout the weekend, she'd break into Yao Ming, Yao Ming, Yao Ming, Yao Ming. So she kind of laughs and gets embarrassed at that story now, but this was a great memory. So again, using old stuff, and I squeezed some sports balls, football, basketball, and baseball. We also watched some soccer and hockey and some other things. This was the last one that I did yesterday, and it's one I had in my head. I didn't make a video of it. In my head, I was going to make a video of it, and that may be what stopped me, because I didn't know whether to coat the page with gesso. I didn't, and it worked out just fine. I didn't know whether to use paint or ink. I used Distress ink, and I just took these pads and just did that on the page and kind of squinched them around and moved them next to each other so that I had 7, because I had 7 letters. And then I used scraps in rainbow colors to punch or to die cut these leaves. And there were some that didn't fit up here, and I just kind of glued them down below, filled the O's with pictures of John, and popped it up on a couple layers of foam so that there would be room to tuck things under, and I tucked all these leaves kind of under the die cut. This cut file originally said "Love You to the Moon and Back," and I just cut the "Love You" off, and I'll use the rest of it somehow somewhere later. This is probably where that blue got on the other layout, so I must not have let that dry. Anyway, I originally envisioned this as John's Christmas present. Then when I didn't get it done, there was a lot. When I didn't get it done for Christmas, I envisioned it as a Valentine's Day gift. And bless his heart, he left us before Valentine's Day happened. And so this is just kind of a tribute. So that's the last of the party stuff only, and I will show you the Calvin ball layout I did this morning. It was also a party challenge, but it's my first Calvin ball layout, so it goes in the Calvin ball pile. And there is a video on this one, and it's called First Calvin Ball Layout of 2021. So, no, and there's it's in a playlist called Calvin Ball Layouts. And this was the sketch I used, the mood board I used, and the points that I got were for a star and the color green, I did not use the ball or finish an unfinished project. Now, since that was on a baseball road trip, I could have put a baseball on it, but I didn't, so I'm taking only the 2 points for those items and 1 point for the fact that it's a 12 by 12 layout. So I get 3 points for that guy. So not a biggie. Before it's all over, I'll be doing 70-point layouts, but we have to have a few more rules before that's possible. So thank you for watching, and I will not be filming all of my Calvin Ball layouts, but I will be doing them as part of my Freeze Friday layouts throughout the month. And I'll try to kind of point out, just to be helpful to people who are new to Calvin Ball, I'll try to point out where the points came from, or how I use them, or why I did them. So on my layouts about John, I probably won't be stuffing unnecessary things onto them. For fun layouts about kids' activities or parties, or kind of wild and craziness kind of layouts, anything's fair game as far as I'm concerned. So I'll be looking for llamas and flamingos and other such fun things, and I'll probably throw a ball in there. It'll maybe be a beach ball. So thanks for watching. Talk with you later. Have fun. Bye.